Honorable, Venerable Dr. Mayor Philip Kramer, who has just conducted 2 wedding ceremonies on Valentine's Day right here. And he does this every year when there are couples who wish to exchange vows on this day of love. And Mayor Kramer has also, we just discussed, and we're hoping to do again, married some animals from the animal shelter. He's married a couple of puppies. I think there was a pair of kitties one year. They all got dressed up. It was just absolutely adorable. But on this day of love, we want to ask Mayor Kramer, besides the fact that as mayor, he is able to and needs to marry couples who wish to be married, why do you do it? You tell the most beautiful stories, and I'd like you to tell it now.
Well, it's a labor of love. It's funny. You watch some of these people, and some of them are. You wonder why they're getting married. The one that always stands out in my mind is 2 very young people who got married, and they were looking at their cell phones during the ceremony. I was a little worried about how long that one was going to last. But there's some people who cries. The men cry more often than the women, and the way they hold their hands, the way they hold each other, it just, and the audience sometimes, it just gets to you, and it can be very satisfying. Sometimes they don't speak English, so you have someone else translating, and you can see the expression on the face when certain words come to them. It's delayed. You say it and there's no reaction because they don't understand, but then the translator says it and their face lights up. And I just try to make it special for them. I know I've done probably 500 of these, but this is their one time, and so I try to make it as special for them as I can.
And I know your message is somewhat universal, but there are certain little highlights. Your cookie story always becomes part of your wedding vows to the happy couple, but I know it's born out of a personal experience.
Yes, so in there, a big part of the ceremony is about the little things, how the little things are important to a relationship and a marriage. And one of the lines is, it's the little thing. It's little things like getting a cookie for your spouse when you get one for yourself. And that was from a time when my wife and I had an argument over who knows what. And, we were like, and not even looking at each other or something. And I was sitting there on the couch, and she came in with a cookie in her hand, in her mouth, one in her hand, eating it. And she handed me a cookie, and I said, "Oh, okay, we're all right." And that touched me when she did that, and I brought that to the ceremony.
Just a simple little gesture like that.
Yeah, it's the little things.
Well, the other really important point that can't be emphasized too much is your point about arguing. This is not all honey and roses, even though it is Valentine's Day. We are all individuals. We're all going to disagree at some point. And at some point, we're going to have to agree to disagree. But you had some very valuable advice about arguing.
Yeah, I talked to them about that. My wife and I have been married over 30 years. And that the best advice I can give them is about arguing. That when they argue, they need to argue to resolve, not to win. And it's something I try to remember. My wife and I don't argue very much, thankfully. But when that inevitably does happen, I try to remember, okay, you don't need to win this. You just need a resolution here so that you're both happy about it. And that has helped us.
Well, it's less about being right than having both of you resolve the issue so that you emerge as the team.
Right. And the ceremony talks a lot about being a team. It's there are times I kind of break up a little bit with doing the ceremony, and it's funny. Like I said, I've read it 500 times, and every once in a while, like maybe not every once in a while, a couple of times a month when I do it, I'll see a new way of looking at the sentence. I guess people probably do this with scripture. They've read them over and over again, and then they find a new meaning in what they're reading. So it's very nice. This year, my deputy mayor is Ram and Barrison, and he is really enjoyed. He's just started it, but he's eager to take over some of the doing some of the weddings. He's done a couple so far. He was going to help me on Valentine's Day today, because last time we had a dozen people. This time, I guess with the post-COVID, I don't know if it's COVID or not, but we only had 2. But he was going to help me, and so we could be doing them simultaneously. But he's getting some joy out of doing this too. So it's a nice part of being mayor.
It's happy joy.
Happy joy.
It's happy responsibility when you can bring people together in a way that echoes no other relationship.
It just gives you a warm feeling by the time you leave.
Well, you give it a warm feeling.
That's right.
And you give it your heart, and you can see it, even though you've said the same script over and over, as you said, over 500 times. It still is imbued with new meaning because every couple is new. And I can hear it in your voice, and I see it in your expression when you address a couple. The first thing you always say is, "Are you ready? Are you sure?" And they look at each other. Yeah, we're ready. And that's so sweet, and it puts people at ease. And that's one of the things that you do best.
Well, another little personal story is, recently my wife and I just stumbled across the video on a VHS tape of our wedding, and I still saved a VCR just so for those times you find something like that, and plugged it in, and the opening lines of our wedding were the same as the opening lines of this wedding. And it was like, and my wife was looking at me because I was reciting with him what he was saying, and I don't know if she was thinking that I'd remembered from 30 years ago, which I hadn't, but I was actually pleasantly amazed that, oh, that's what I say. So it was very nice. The rest of the ceremony was different, but the opening paragraph was very much the same.
Well, it's a universal sentiment.
Yes.
And we thank you for bringing it every year to happy couples on Valentine's Day. And the mayor does receive a small stipend for this service from the township. And I know you donate it. Where do you donate it?
To the Second Chance for Animals. I never touch the money. It just, at the end of the year, they just bundle it up and give to Second Chance. And the deputy mayor has agreed that when he does weddings, the same thing will happen. So on COVID years, it was less. But on good years, it's about $4,500. And that helps out the animal shelter. And we do weddings every Thursday at 2 o'clock. We do about 4 weddings. So we now have a regular schedule. It used to be I'd pick here or pick there, but I figured it's just easier for the town and for people to know Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Not Thanksgiving.
Not Thanksgiving. Okay. And of course on Valentine's Day, whatever day that falls on.
Right.
How does somebody get that information?
They call the township clerk. The general number is 732-873-2500. Then follow the prompts to the clerk's office. And they'll arrange things.
Perfect. Well, we want to thank you, Dr. Mayor Philip Kramer, and Lori Conrad Kramer. If you're out there, thank you. We wish you were here. But happy Valentine's Day to you and your beloved Mayor Philip Kramer. This is PJ Parker, Franklin reporter and advocate. We wish you love on this happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
And we'll be back.